So you found the skeleton. How would you tell people that it's you personally? How would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Matt with Maddie 13, Matt Powell's Space Air. So, welcome to the show. Welcome Maddie back after about a month or so. I don't know. Yeah, we did one of those. For some reason, I was thinking to myself earlier today, gee, it feels like it's been a really long time since the last Matt with Maddie, but then I double checked, and no, it was the normal scheduled third Tuesday of the month, when we normally do it. So, I don't know. It's just my subjective weird feelings, and I think you were just muted a little bit, but that's okay because you mostly just said yeah and nodded, so people didn't lose too much. So, guys, for those of you who don't know, this is the show where basically we turn struggling through a Matt Powell video into a drinking game. And I am drinking some soju that has a citrus fruit flavor that I can't super identify because the bottle just says Scarlet, and it has a picture of a very generic-looking citrus fruit. Which, to be fair, they're all very generic-looking, because, I mean, other than variations in color, if you're just looking at a picture, they all look basically the same. They all have the same little white blossoms, the same shaped leaf, whatever. Mostly because citrus fruits are all basically the same species, right? Like, it's like cabbage and kale and broccoli, right? They might look different. That's the same thing. Anyway. Maddie, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking a delightful Belgian quad beer that is aptly named Bearded Theologian. It's from a local brewery up in Tulsa. It's Cabin Boys. If you're in the Oklahoma-ish area, their beers are super good. They're all Belgian style.
Awesome.
And they make me happy. Yeah.
Well, I've had it on good authority from more than one person that it is inappropriate to talk theology without a beer. So.
Yeah. Oh, and pro of me not filming in my studio today, I have the goodest co-host.
Aww.
This is Chester, everybody. It's been a while since he's been on camera, but he's very good. And he has his peppermint bandana.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm sure he's so feeling very pretty.
He's so handsome. Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're going to start talking about what are the rules by which we play the drinking game, right? So, these drinking rules are carefully crafted to make sure that we maintain a reasonable pace of intake, but also, you know, that we don't just drink every time Matt Powell says a wrong thing, because, I mean, we just pass out.
We were both in the Navy, not the Marines.
Right. So, let's see. First of all, we do drink whenever Matt Powell says something that's basically so wrong or dumb. You just kind of have to as, like, brain cooling, right? Because you don't want your brain to leak and melt out your ears or anything. Melt and leak out your ears. There you go. We'll also take a drink, though, if Matt Powell gets a point of fact correct while not just directly quoting someone. So if he's just saying, oh, this person said, and then he says a thing that's right, that doesn't count. The right thing has to come out of his own brain, which is what the tricky part is, because he does that very infrequently. And we actually start to get pretty generous as time goes on when it comes to whether or not something is going to count as right. But anyway, we'll also take a drink anytime Matt Powell tells a joke that doesn't land. Also take a drink anytime he mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party, prominent members thereof, various important activities that they conducted, especially during the 1930s and 40s, or modern, you know, inheritors of that idea, if you will.
With Matt Powell, we also do it for school shootings.
Yes, I was going to add in, also especially Columbine, because he likes to frequently pivot Columbine. We also have a special one for Matt Powell, which is whenever he just completely pivots to a new topic, especially if it's going to be trans people. Because for some reason, Matt Powell will be talking about like radiometric dating or something, and then boom, he'll start complaining about trans people for some reason. He thinks way more about trans people than most people do. I'm a little suspicious.
It's just... that's a lot of... They're living real rent-free in his head. I don't know.
I don't know anyone, including most of the trans people I know, who spend as much time thinking about this topic as he does. Anyway, we'll also take a drink anytime Matt Powell tells a story that we're pretty darn sure just didn't happen. Now, there are also some drink triggers that are not based on Matt Powell that help keep things interesting. One is, if you hear audibly Godzilla or Mothra stop by, we take a drink for that. Also, there are ways that you guys can do this, which in fact Science Simp has just demonstrated for us handily. But first I'm going to read and drink for Science Simp 96 for $5, who says, AIG is a satchel of phalluses, but he spelled phallus incorrectly in order to make sure that it got by YouTube. Take a drink. So yes, if you super chat anything to the effect that AIG is a bag of dicks, because they are, and because for a while there they were liking to copyright claim virtually everything, including their material that itself was using fair use material from other people. Copyright claim that, which is just a special, delicious extra bit of irony there. So yeah, if you super chat anything that to the effect that AIG is a bag of dicks, we'll take a drink. But of course, YouTube likes to censor that type of comment, so you have to be clever with it. We will also take a drink if anyone super chats any of the kaiju emoji. We have King Ghidorah, we have Godzilla, and we have Mothra.
And how do you get access to those emojis, you ask? Great question. If you become a member on YouTube, starting at only $1 a month.
$1.99.
$1.99 a month. Or, no, you have to be a member to get the emojis.
Yep.
Okay.
But
Patreon also starts at $1 a month, and there's a discount if you pay it for the whole year. You support Dapper, you get access to the Discord and other ways to mess with us.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. And also, we also will take drinks if people gift memberships. So now you can receive gift memberships, and for each gift membership given, we will take a drink. So, hey, who knows? Maybe even if you don't sign up for the memberships, maybe you'll get access anyway. In fact, I believe currently the majority of my channel members are gifted memberships.
Excellent.
But that's okay though, because it still counts towards things like, well, one, I still get the $5 minus take, but also it lets me add more emojis in. So as a result of all the gifted emojis, I've added a bingo emoji for when we do things like say, oh, hey, big numbers. You can check off that on your bingo card. But also a drink emoji, which is a nice little glass of some kind of brownish liquid. It says drink under it. We also have a get bent emoji that's been relatively recent. And also, Vandalia 1998 says for $5, so Maddie, how's your baby's PhD coming, and which of these Tuesday streams has the biggest chance of alcohol poisoning by over-drinking? With a Godzilla emoji, so we're going to take a drink for the Godzilla emoji.
Baby's PhD is going great. She can now reach out and almost grab objects. She sort of swats at them, but that's a very fun game that we play. So as soon as we can get her to like hold that pencil, we're just going to be off to the races.
Very nice.
She's 2 months old for the audience.
And she's adorable.
And she's perfect. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that covers it. Oh, no, predictions. If one of us isn't, if we're not sure what Matt Powell's going to say, what his next argument is going to be, then if one of us can predict it successfully, we'll take a drink. Sometimes we'll let the chat make predictions. It's kind of based on how I feel. Because let's be honest, I'm actually just the arbiter of when we drink or not. There's no like judges panel or anything back there to like double check whether or not I'm following the rules. And we have a drink counter, so we can tell just how many drinks we had. Now, do play this at your own risk. You're not accepting liability or anything. Drink responsibly. You know your limits, and if you don't play along. But also,
tonight is not the night to figure them out.
And if you want to play with something other than alcohol, feel free. We have people who drink tea, people who drink water, people vape pens, whatever you want. Just be safe.
I conspicuously played with water for 9 months.
Yes, you did. You could have told people it was just vodka.
I could have. Yes, I'm just drinking this giant glass of straight vodka.
All right, guys. Where we left off, Matt Powell was telling us about how, no, he couldn't possibly be wrong because he knows he's right, because the Bible said so, and he knows that it's right because it says it's right.
Yeah, because it says it's right. and we can have confidence that he is right because he has never questioned whether or not he's right.
Right.
I was like,
Unlike
homeboy.
Yeah, unlike those horrible scientists who think they might be wrong,
Right.
the idea of being wrong has just never crossed Matt Powell's mind.
Nope.
Which, according to him, should inspire confidence. But according to basically every reasonable person in the universe, inspires serious amounts of skepticism. Because, people aren't perfect. You're probably wrong about plenty of things. And I'm speaking to you directly. You might think I'm just speaking to my general audience, but no. You right there, Bill, sitting on your couch, you're wrong about things. Bill's gonna have his mind blown. All right, here we go.
With science books that change every 10 years? That's what they're asking.
How dare those science books make sure that they're using up-to-date information? I'm just taking a drink.
Yeah, how dare science make progress and we want to teach children about that? How dare science not already be completed?
Right? Guys, we should just shut down science. Like, just pack it in. Anything that's not currently explained, we'll just say is a miracle. Then all the scientists can go home and, I don't know, play horseshoes in the backyard.
I would like to play horseshoes in the backyard. But, yeah, like, if we don't already know it, it clearly isn't meant to be known, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. We've reached, sorry, Chester can hear the baby crying in the other room and he's concerned.
Aww.
Yeah. My husband has the baby. She's just hungry.
Look, if humans were meant to do science, they'd be born with science lab coats. They're not, so clearly science is not for man.
Clearly not.
Erchamian for $10 says, wait, I didn't think my name was Bill. Was I even wrong about that? I mean, you might want to check with your birth certificate. You might have been Bill this whole time. Or I suppose maybe William. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, your birth certificate probably wouldn't say Bill. It'd probably say William. That's usually how it works.
Did men's beards evolve to absorb a punch to the jaw? So evolution also teaches that the reason that we have hair on our face as men is because we were punched so much as primates that our jaw finally had enough, and it had to create a cushion in our face.
We're going to pause in a second.
That is weird.
Not only is it weird, it's not the consensus position on why men have prominent facial hair that, generally speaking, female humans lack. It was a suggestion. First, we're going to take a drink because the whole thing's dumb. We're going to take a read of this new super chat and then we're going to go into it. Vandalian 1998 says history has the nerve to update occasionally too. Yeah, as someone who worked to get a degree in that field, history actually does change. Our conclusions that we reach about history aren't just static and unchanging. New evidence comes in, new sources are discovered, new archaeology helps confirm or disconfirm previous notions from history. So, yeah. In fact, actually, I was complaining to a friend of mine the other day that I really hate that in the public consciousness, like the word historical revisionism has basically come to mean trying to revise things like the Holocaust to pretend they didn't happen. When in fact, if you're familiar with professional history as it's done in like universities and stuff, that's basically all they do is actual historical revisionism. Say, hey, look, this is the consensus view on this part of history. What if we're wrong? And then going in and double checking. That's why you still have people studying the same events in history that people have been studying for thousands of years in some cases.
I've recently been reading a book on it's a popular level book, but it has a lot of sources cited and all of that. And it's on the history and culture of the Oto-Missouri people that are a nation native to the Americas. And on the whole preface, the author has this whole thing like, look, this is like the sources for this is referencing and reflecting like a change in how historians approach the study of indigenous cultures, because most of the written records that we have are from like European colonists, right, or missionaries or something like that, who didn't, maybe weren't fully understanding the culture. So it's taking those records, comparing those with the actual oral traditions of the like native populations, those the stories that survive, and then also bringing in archaeology, right, to fill in some of the gaps, and leaning much more heavily on that archaeology and the oral traditions of the like native peoples themselves, and being like, and that's changing our perspective. Because turns out when you're, if you're only looking of history through a singular lens, it's going to give you a skewed picture.
You want to hear a bunch of historians fight? Go into a room of historians and ask them how reliably we should, or how much we should rely on oral histories.
Yeah.
Because my goodness, is that a controversial topic?
Yeah. So I think I'm not a historian. I'm not a social scientist in any way, shape, or form. But in many like indigenous cultures, oral histories are incredibly important culturally. Right. And but they might not be like, so I think you have to understand them within the cultural context.
Yeah.
Because like the story that this oral tradition is supposed to tell may or may not be intended to perfectly relay facts.
Yeah. And even when they are, it's also often very hard to tie them into any kind of chronology, because oral histories tend not to tell you exactly when things happened. For one reason is that they tend to come from cultures that don't have formal calendar counts. So they couldn't tell you even if they knew.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to get more Matt because we're starting to just distract from the Matt. And here's the thing about the Matt Powell videos.
We're really good at that, though.
We're really good at it, but also the more we do it, the more episodes we have to sit through this one video of.
Okay, fair.
So it's like the short-term versus the long-term game.
But do you want to hear more about my D&D character?
I do, but not while we have to get through a Matt Powell. Not while we have to get through a Matt Powell video.
Okay, let's go.
Is that, like, you bring this up in debates to them, and they try to defend this, and it is sad.
Oh, right. Beards. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of reasons that people say are reasons why male humans might tend to have facial hair more than females. And I say tend to, right, because there are some men who basically don't grow beards, and, well, there are some women who do. I've met female humans who have enough testosterone that they grow facial hair. And it's annoying, but they have to deal with it. Anyway, so that's the trend. And for this, I'm just going to say, males tend to have beards, females tend not to, and we'll just leave it at that. Sure, there's lots of nuances, but like we're talking about typical, individuals in Homo sapiens. Anyway, one might simply be just sexual selection, right? Maybe on average, females find facial hair sexy. And maybe that might not be your experience, but also, I mean, you're not a Homo erectus, right? You don't know what Homo erectus found sexy. And if, enough species found facial hair sexy, then it doesn't matter if you currently don't. They did, so you're stuck with it. It could, in fact, be to help protect the face from physical blow, although I don't know how effective it would be at that. That's actually one of the ideas I find least compelling. But it could also be for things like, or protection from the cold. Because, the most hirsute men tend to be from colder areas. If you look at people from, like, the tropics, they don't tend to be very furry. Now, you might say, well, then how come women don't? Well, I mean, that could be as simple as body hair density is tied to testosterone in Homo sapiens. So, don't get as much testosterone, even if it would be handy.
Yeah, I'm not a biologist, but I always thought that like it was facial hair was like a effect, not a cause. Sorry. So like the selection pressure was on like men with more testosterone tend to be better hunters or something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing. Then, it might not be directly selected for.
Right. And then like women don't have it because like if women have a lot of testosterone, they might have trouble pregnant. So like I always assumed it wasn't something that was directly, I always thought, I guess, that it wasn't something directly selected for.
That's another option, right? There are a lot of characteristics in life that aren't directly selected for. It's something else that causes it that is, in fact, selected. Yeah. Also, Sarah Talbert's been a member for 2 months at the Amnio level. Thank you very much, Sarah. And Benthoven. Hi. Benthoven, who's been a member for 29 months at the Tetrapod level, says, don't forget to click like, and then sends a Godzilla and a Ghidorah, an Mothra emoji, which means we're going to take a drink.
Cheers.
And then more
29 is a good number. 29
is.
is itself prime. And then if you add 2 and 9, you get 11, which is prime.
Good job, 29.
Good job, 29.
Imagine having to defend the position that you came from a rock.
I can imagine it. I don't do it because I didn't. But okay. Thanks for the straw man,
No one
Matt.
actually thinks that, Matt.
Yeah, the closest people come to thinking that are the actual creationists who think that humans were made of dust. Which, in the absence of a history of animal life to create shed skin, is primarily going to be mineral dust. Which means rocks. Tiny little rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine
Chester would like
having
everyone to know he checked on the baby. She is fine.
Oh, good.
defend the position that monkeys sailed 900 miles across an ocean.
Well, rafted, because remember from last time, for some reason, despite the fact that it happens now, in present time, and the fact that it would help his post-flood dispersal ideas, for some reason, despite both of those facts, Matt Powell just thinks that animals rafting to different landmasses after a storm is just not a thing.
Cannot possible.
Never mind the fact that only a couple decades ago or so, the island of Anguilla was completely green iguana free, and then there was a hurricane, and a few green iguanas rafted on shore. I don't know if you know this about green iguanas, but they're highly adaptable, so now the island is just full of them. And they rafted there. And when I say in historical times, I don't mean in 879 AD or something. I mean in the 80s.
Yeah, humans with video camera.
Right. A fair portion of my audience might remember the day this happened.
Yeah.
You might not have known about it, but that was a day that you're old enough to have memories of.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, not me, but...
Well, I said a fair portion of my audience.
Fair portion, yeah.
Probably not most of them, but I definitely know that I have some who do.
Goes, you think Noah's floods, you think Noah's Ark could have sustained those animals?
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
They think that there was no encapsulated ark, that they just rode on a little log all the way across 900 miles across the ocean.
Right, over the course of 4 or 5 days. Not over the course of over a year, Matt. Just take a drink for such incredulity.
Also,
a thing that just happens. It just happens now.
Would love to point out that probably most of the monkeys that ended up on rafts, didn't survive.
Oh yeah, many more animals die after being washed out to shore than make it to new land masses.
Right.
But it only takes a few.
Yeah, it only takes a few. So, but also there's the issues of that type of wooden boat wouldn't survive the storm conditions we're talking about. Certainly wouldn't survive the heat and radiation. That would be outputted by some of these models that are necessary. The other dog, his head is right here, and he's asking for pets because he's a very good boy. So I'm a little distracted because he's very fluffy.
Honestly, the actual boat full of animals is the least troublesome part of the entire flood story.
Right? Yeah. Sure, you had a boat full of animals, whatever.
Okay, but now the temperature is 40,000 Celsius. What are you gonna do about that?
Right. Yeah. Now the oceans have all evaporated, and the granitic crust of the Earth is molten.
If not vapor, and there's enough radiation being emitted from their there's accelerated decay during the flood. Yeah, your organs are soup now.
Yeah, everything is soup. You're all liquid. That's
But I'm glad that you think you have enough space for food on the Ark, right? That's good.
But I'm glad, that's not the minutia we need to be arguing. Listen, that's not even the takeaway from that story. My goodness.
Yeah, and I love that those kind of little details are what the Ark encounter in I think it's Tennessee. Yeah, that's what they focus on. Or no, it's Kentucky. Sorry. That's what they focus on. Is how could Noah have fit all the animals? It's I don't know, guys, but when you studied it, you said that your flood models would melt the granitic crust of the Earth several times over, and that you didn't have a way to fix that problem. So rather than telling me how Noah shoveled the crap off the boat, or how he got fresh water to all the animals, How about you save him from being immediately vaporized? How about that?
Yeah.
Keller Italian for $5 says, Matt learned everything he knows about public speaking from Kent, and he wasn't a very good student. No, it's true. Kent is a much better public speaker.
Kent is a better public speaker. Yeah. Like, Kent leans really hard and like his Alabama grandpa personality to try to like, I don't know, I think make himself do the whole like, well, I'm just a country lawyer, right? Like he's trying to lean into that character a little bit.
Although not a lawyer, because he's not a big fan of those guys.
No, sorry, I know, but like that character, that trope that shows up a lot. He tries country grandpa-ness in a way that like I, having grown up in evangelicalism, that pings my cult radar so fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also doesn't help that he, runs a compound.
Right. It doesn't help that he runs a compound, but the way Kent speaks, right? The way he speaks, the way he presents himself, I can't quite articulate what about it triggers my cult radar like immediately, but it does. The persona he's trying to put on is supposed to like be disarming. It's like, I'm just a friendly guy who likes dinosaurs. Like that's what it's supposed to be. But it like, because I've heard those speakers before, I don't trust them. Like for me, it gives the complete opposite reaction. Yeah. It just sends like red flags up through my whole body.
Well, if it helps, I talked to Chris Shelton not that long ago.
Oh, yeah?
I mentioned a few of the things that, make me think that Kent is running a cult. And Chris Shelton, being a former cult member and someone who has a degree regarding, dealing with destructive cult and has a whole channel built around that, he tends to agree that, yeah, it does sound like Dinosaur Adventureland is being run like a cult.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we go.
It's the fallacy of false equivalence.
Is it?
This is really hokey. And again, I just want to give their side. This article says dinosaurs gassed themselves into extinction. So according to evolution, the reason that certain of the dinosaurs went extinct is because they passed so much gas that it increased the amount of carbon in the atmosphere.
Methane.
And that's how they passed on.
All right, I can talk about climate stuff. So
all right.
Methane.
I'm going to take a drink while you're doing it.
Okay, I'll have a sip too. Methane is a greenhouse gas. Methane is about 10 times more potent a greenhouse gas as carbon dioxide, right? So for the same
mass?
Change in mass, right, of carbon dioxide versus methane, the heating effect from the methane will be like 10 times as much as the effect from the change in carbon dioxide. Now, luckily, methane makes up a much smaller fraction. Like you measure methane in parts per billion, you measure carbon dioxide in parts per million, right? So carbon dioxide,
hundreds of times less prevalent.
Yeah, hundreds of times less prevalent. So carbon dioxide is the most like important greenhouse gas right now, but it's not the most like, potent, right? And so methane regulation is modern times a very big deal. You see that with like farms and things, right? So because the methane from cows, right, manure and things and farts and things like that, turns out livestock produce that. And that's not a big deal if you just have like your milk cow Bessie, right? But if you're running several thousand head of cattle, right, that methane starts to add up. And so like we know methane is a very strong greenhouse gas. So I think what Matt is referring to is periods of time in the past when there have been sharp upticks of the amount of like carbon in the atmosphere that you can measure by like paleoclimate proxies and stuff. And also sharp increases in temperature. So is it possible that there was a like climate change event that caused the like temperature to warm? And so there are like a couple times in history where you see a carbon increase preceding a temperature increase. And so like where did all that carbon come from if there's not like humans there to emit things, right? So I think
Ancient
the
aliens.
period in time he's talking about here, there was a time when there was this large carbon reservoir like under an ocean, and it like, for reasons currently unknown, like that I don't know at least, all of this carbon reservoir got dumped into the atmosphere geologically quickly. But I think what Matt's referring to here is an alternative hypothesis for that event, which would be maybe the increase in carbon dioxide that caused the increase in temperature that led to climate changes that led to mass extinctions.
You're giving Matt way more credit because I know exactly what he's referring to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're giving him way too much credit because what he's actually referring to is the headline to a Fox News article that he did not read the then article attached, right? So, because I've looked this up before. Like, I actually know I've read the exact article that he's referencing. So,
okay. What does that article claim?
Then I read the paper that the article was referencing, because of course I did, because I took 2 more steps than Matt Powell ever would. Weird,
2
right?
steps.
So, the headline from Fox News says that British scientists say that dinosaur farts may have led to extinction. The article doesn't say that. It said it indicates that maybe some scientists are suggesting that maybe sauropod flatulence led to an increase in temperature. To which I then went and looked at the paper, and they said that if they calculated basically the approximate biomass of sauropods in the late Jurassic, then figured out if they have reasonable assumptions for metabolism, how much, and they're using fermentation digestion, which is likely, that's probably why they had such big guts, was to ferment plant matter. That produces a calculable amount of methane. If you look at that amount of methane, it does actually seem to coincide with the general rise in temperature across the late Jurassic. At no point do they suggest that it was the cause of the extinction of anything. It's just that it might have been a minor but not insignificant contribution to the late Jurassic rise in temperatures.
That's very cool, actually, from a paleoclimate standpoint.
Right.
That's very
But it's
cool.
also not at all what Matt Powell is saying. Because
what Matt Powell's saying.
All he did was see a silly Fox News headline and say, well, that's silly, which, to be fair, yes, it is. But it's not silly because what the scientists are saying is silly. It's silly because whoever writes the headline at Fox News. Right.
Also, I'd like to point out that in this whole discussion we just had, at no point in time was any of that science biology. Some of it was biology. But
oh, Maddie? Your audio just cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
No, so at no point was any of it
evolution.
Yeah, nothing about that was evolution. Now, of course,
nothing about this.
Matt Powell thinks anything that goes back farther than 6,000 years is just using evolutionary assumptions because he doesn't know what any of those words mean.
Right. Well, I think Matt Powell thinks any science that isn't young Earth creationism is evolution somehow.
Yeah.
Like science exists in 2 bends, evolution and not evolution.
Right. Just like the world exists as Christians and atheists.
Yeah.
There are no other options.
Yeah, there's no other options. There's absolutely no space for nuance. Hey, fun fact, black and white thinking is a cult mindset indicator.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they went extinct, right? And
yes, Matt, I agree with that
says,
side.
You have misrepresented us, Matt. That's not what we believe. We believe they tooted, he said, and it warmed the environment. And then they died from the global warming.
Nope. Up until you said, and then they died from the global warming. You almost had it, right. Matt. Almost.
Almost.
This is a story that didn't happen. We're taking a drink.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone ever said that to him. I think someone might have said the first 2 parts, right? Because those parts are actually what was being stated by the paper. And also, I want to say, I don't actually know.
I think Matt very rarely interacts with people who have a different belief system than he does. All of these conversations, that's like, well, they say blah, blah, blah. These are all shower thoughts. This is made up stuff, in my opinion.
Probably.
Right? These are not conversations he has had with actual people.
Yeah. I mean, I know he has talked to a few atheists here. Like, he's talked to the Raging Atheist a few times. Apparently, they were on pretty good terms for a while. But then, Matt stabbed him in the back. Which, I mean, shocking, right?
Shocking.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, here we go.
It doesn't matter how you reshuffle the cards. It's still, and I finally got so fed up with these guys. I called the director of American Atheists over.
Who apparently is in charge of paleontology and paleoclimatology.
Yeah.
Matt, did you think about contacting the lead author on the paper, who's presumably the one who, when you go check the reference, has the little email symbol next to his name, because he's the one you can contact for further information. Did you contact him? No. You went to the head of American Atheists, who's...
Yeah, I would like to point out that most scientists would be delighted to receive an email. It's like, hey, I read this paper and I didn't understand X. I get to talk about the thing that I'm super interested in that only 5 other people on the planet are. Yes.
Right. Like, if you think you're in like some kind of niche nerd category, just wait till you find yourself in like a PhD program, studying the thing that there's like 4 other papers that are actually about the exact same thing, and then maybe a few hundred that are tangentially related.
Right. It's like, so like Arctic meteorology, it's me and like 10 other people on planet Earth. Right. And one of those was my advisor.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a narrow pool.
It's a narrow pool.
All right.
In, I believe, Utah. Her name is Killian Bowen. I said, Killian, I said, how do you think the dinosaurs went extinct? And
I still don't understand why it is that we're asking the head of America. I just can't get over it. Who cares what Killian, whoever her name is, says? It doesn't matter.
I also think this is a story that didn't happen. I would love to chat with Killian and ask if this happened.
Well, so he's being super specific with it, which usually they aren't when these are just like shower thoughts, because usually it's like, I talked to an atheist, but here he's like giving a name and like an occupation that you could check on. So I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens.
She says, well, you know, I've heard about you. You know, you've made these arguments. She says, I want to clarify.
Oh, okay.
There were so many dinosaurs that's what caused the the atmospheric pressures to life, and that's why they died, because there were so many of them. It wasn't.
That's also not what happened.
Because also he referred to atmospheric pressure, not temperature.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I'll give him that might be a misspeak, but like those are very different.
So at best, so first of all, he said, "Do you know how all the dinosaurs died?" And then this person immediately is apparently going to the dinosaur flatulence, which no one would do unless they had already been primed about that topic, which means what he actually asked her about. Because I think this is a conversation that he's inaccurately reporting. Like, I think he did talk to her, right? But I think he's asking, what do you think about this dinosaur farting thing? And she, like me, was already familiar with his argument about it. So she already had looked it up. And so she's saying that what had happened was that there, like I said, there was sufficient sauropod biomass to account for an amount of methane that was climatologically significant as you go through the Jurassic period.
Yeah. And again, this isn't as insane as he's trying to make it sound, especially since we're not talking about extinction level events, right? We're just, there's an absorbed warming, because we can and have, and I think it's in the IPCC report, calculated the amount of methane and therefore from planet Earth from livestock, from like mostly cattle, but like that's a calculation we can do in modern times. The amount of warming due to methane emissions, absolutely. Like you can calculate that.
Yeah.
Actually, like that would be a decent homework problem for a senior level or like early graduate level class.
And like, look, you're a climatologist. When I went through the basics of like, we have an estimate of sauropod biomass. We have an estimate as to like their metabolic rate, their method of fermentation, digestion. And from that, we can calculate like a mass of methane over time. Like all of those are reasonable things that you can do, and you come up with an answer. And we know that there was warming throughout the Jurassic, which then, as you get into the Cretaceous, started to reverse into a bit of a cooling. For instance, there was probably no snow on Earth except at the highest mountains, maybe during the Jurassic. There was snow annually at the poles in the Cretaceous. In fact, actually, even as far south as like southern Canada, might get a few snowy days during the winter. Not many, but might get a few. And like we know of many dinosaurs who have experienced snow annually. So Anyway, that wouldn't have been the case during the Jurassic, even if you're at the pole. If you're at the South Pole in the Jurassic period, chances are it's snow-free year-round, because the Jurassic was pretty much like equal to the hottest it ever got on Earth during the Phanerozoic. Which apparently we're just trying to get back there. That's the plan right now, is just go back to Jurassic. Apparently. Which, I mean, as a Jurassic animal is fine by me, but all you weird Cenozoic apes might not like it.
We might not.
From the gas, they are saying it was from the gas. They're just trying to reword it to make it sound like stupidity could be believable.
No, Matt. They're trying to explain to you that your conclusion is wrong, and that we're talking about climate change over the course of millions of years.
Yeah.
And
because his argument here would have to be, fundamentally what he's saying is silly, right? Is that methane is a greenhouse gas, right? Or like, do you want to go with animals don't fart methane? Like,
what do you think they fart?
What do you think they fart? Do you want to go with that? Do you want to go with methane is not a greenhouse gas? Like,
yeah,
right? Because again, you can measure the fact that methane is you can, in a lab, this has been done many times. The fact that greenhouse gases are just gases that absorb radiation in the infrared and specifically not in the visible and UV. Because the greenhouse gases are gases that absorb the outgoing radiation from the Earth, and Earth emits in the IR based off of our mass and albedo and composition and stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't know which of those things Matt would like to disagree with.
Right, or does he just think that the word fart is funny?
Well,
like,
there's that.
Is he 6?
Well, also there's the fact that he thinks it involves extinction, even though no one ever said that, except the headline writer at Fox News.
Headline. Yeah.
They want to constantly reword things.
Let's see.
Is it us rewording things all the time, Matthew?
Yeah, no, it's him. I've been asked if Matt Powell has ever admitted he's wrong about an argument. Not that I'm aware of, but then again, I haven't seen everything he's ever.
Yeah.
Oh, and livestock tend to belch methane, not fart it. I mean, okay.
I was unaware.
Yeah, that's how the devil did it, right, in the garden. Yea, hath God said. He would reword and try and twist the words of God.
I mean, I remember the serpent in the garden giving a pretty direct quote and then just saying, nah, bro, that won't happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if does saying nah after you directly quote someone count as twisting words? I don't know. But we got Jonathan Sarfati up.
Okay.
He's on screen. Cool. Oh, they can't see it.
Oh, okay. I can see him just on the edge. I was going to go on a random tangent about like the evolution of the modern concept of the devil. And anyway,
that might be a bit much.
We don't need to hear me.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Oh, no, we skipped past.
If I walked into a room and I saw an air compressor and it was full of air, what would you conclude?
I don't know. That's a weird question.
Somebody was there recently, or it had been turned on, and that it was active.
Okay, so the air compressor is
I know where he's
currently
going.
on. Yes, I guess it would be reasonable to say that if it's currently on, unless it lacks an automatic shutoff feature, which I think most of them do, then yeah, probably be pretty recent. Well, and yeah, we're doing helium and rocks.
Yeah, we're doing helium and rocks. Like, if you find a gas in a container, right? If you find a container that is full of gas, that gas must have been put there recently because it's going to leak. So his you know what I mean? Like, an air compressor doesn't have a perfect airtight seal, right? Rocks aren't, individual atoms of helium produced in the middle of a rock are going to escape it, right? They can get out, turns out. Anyway.
How's that beer treating you?
So good.
Okay.
Would anybody ever say, I think that air has been sitting in there since it was created back in the 1950s? Nobody would say that.
Mostly because air wasn't created in the 1950s, but okay.
I think he meant since the air compressor was invented.
Oh, that would make a little bit more sense. Yeah, okay.
A little bit more.
That's fair. All right, that would make more sense. Harry Bronson says, for $5, remember, Satan whispers and God thunders. Shouldn't Matt be a bit louder if he wants to do or if he wants to not do things like Satan. Look, I don't want to hear Matt yell at me, because I've heard Matt yell at people, and it's weird and gross and terrible. And my favorite line from me hearing Matt yell at people was, "I never said she was a witch, I said she practiced witchcraft." Which sounds like a distinction without a meaning to me. Yeah, so Matt, feel free to go soft-spoken as much as you want. Much more, or it's much less unpleasant to listen to. It's still unpleasant. I can't say it's more pleasant, because none of it's pleasant, but like, at least tolerable. In fact, in one of my videos, you can actually hear basically the entire audio recording of him verbally abusing another church member. So,
yeah, I've listened to that. It's rough. That just made
really
me uncomfortable.
Rough. Yeah. Honestly, I would suggest skipping through it if you have already heard it once.
Compressed in there. Well, consistently inside of crystals, you ever go to museums where you see crystals with the bubbles on the inside?
I mean, not usually visible bubbles, but okay.
The bubbles are actually slipping out of the rock over time.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick drink. Yeah.
I'm just drinking. Does he think those bubbles are helium?
Yes, he thinks that visible bubbles in crystals are the helium that he's about to talk about. He does not know that they're actually just generally air bubbles, and that the helium that he's talking about...
No.
Okay, so the helium he's actually talking about is the result of atomic decay. You guys might know this, you might not. Alpha decay is one of the more common ways that unstable nuclei decay. And when an alpha particle comes out, that's literally just a helium nucleus. Oh, and there's Godzilla. Take a drink for Godzilla, everybody. So, of course, a highly charged, because you got +2 charge on that, helium nucleus will reasonably quickly find some electrons. And also its mean free path through the crystal is fairly short, because it's so highly charged that basically anything it interacts with is likely to, transfer energy out of the alpha particle. That's one of the reasons why alpha particles are extremely easy to shield against. Basically, a sheet of paper will stop alpha flux of very high amounts.
Alpha particles are fat and slow compared to other types of radiation. So the layer of dead skin on your body protects you from alpha radiation, but it is a problem when it interacts with living tissue. So inside of your lip for like people who chew tobacco, or if it gets inside your body.
Don't eat alpha sources.
If you get alpha sources inside your body that are then emitting alpha particles inside your body, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now it's doing all of the damage that it can do in a very small area.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. That results in helium being in the crystals, but not in the form of individual visible macroscopic bubbles.
Yeah, this is like individual atoms, my guy.
Right. So what we're talking about when you're looking for this helium is you're not drilling in like it's Jurassic Park and you're going for like the blood in the mosquito. We're talking like you're pulverizing a crystal and then using like mass spectrometry to measure what elements you're releasing. So it's not visible. If there's a visible bubble, that is not the helium that we're talking about. That's most likely air or volcanic gases that are just trapped inside there.
Yeah, that's just a fault in the crystal structure.
Right.
Like that was there when the crystal formed.
And that's not going anywhere. That's not migrating through the crystal, because that would require the actual crystal matrix to start deforming liquidly around it, which it doesn't do. The whole point of a crystal is that it's pretty rigid.
Helium atoms, alpha particles get through because they're small.
Right, they're very, very, very tiny.
They're little bitty.
But even then, they tend not to get all the way through, at least at first. Mm-hmm. And so then, after they form into helium, they will tend to diffuse through the crystal matrix, because helium atoms are often smaller than the gaps between the ions and other molecules and whatnot, or atoms, forming the crystal matrix, because helium is so small. So, now that we know what we're actually talking about, let's continue on. And I'm just going to take another drink, because I just can't with the bubbles in the crystal are the helium.
This is really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And again, geez, like those bubbles aren't going anywhere.
No, they're not.
Those are huge.
Mm-hmm.
God. Okay.
So these crystals actually prove to us that the Earth was created in the recent past, not millions of years ago.
Ow.
How?
Are we going on to a new topic? What? If he does not talk about helium, I don't even know what I'm going to do. That's a drink for the whiplash topic change. He's just going to leave it there. There's bubbles and crystals, guys. Earth is young.
Wait, okay, no. On his screen, it totally says crystal. Like,
okay,
we might
maybe
still be talking about crystals.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
But if you Google how old are crystals, they say 4 to 4.5 billion years old. It's the old.
Oh my God!
Hold on.
Not all crystals do.
Okay, we have to find out how. We're going to ask Google.
Crystals?
How old are crystals?
You can make crystals in a lab.
Okay, well, so I found his exact Google search, and it says scientists identify the oldest crystal on Earth, 4.4 billion years old. The oldest known material on Earth is a tiny bit of zircon crystal that has remained intact for an incredible 4.4 billion years, the study confirms. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's not how old crystals are. That's how old this crystal is. Like, does he just not know how to use Google? Because it's never something I would Google.
Right, like, you can, like, rock candy, or those are crystals you grow in your kitchen right now. You can make quartz in a lab, right? Like ice is a crystal. Like,
I can promise the ice in my freezer didn't form 4.5 billion years ago.
It's not 4.5 billion years old. So just, oh my gosh. After, Matt, honey,
drinking
after you
for
take,
how old are crystals?
listen, I still think the first class you need to take is a good, like, communications and rhetoric class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would serve you super well in your, like, chosen profession. But maybe take, like, a solid state chemistry class. That's like an introductory chemistry, first level. It should just more like solid state as opposed to like the type of chemistry you did. So we deal more with like crystal structures and stuff like that. As
Crystals
opposed to
cool.
Crystals are super cool. There's a free course actually, 3091, which is MIT's. It's solid state chemistry. It's a freshman class. It's one of the requirements. You either have to take that one or a chemistry class by the chemistry department. You can find it on OpenCourseWare. All of the material for that class, free video lectures. ocw.mit. Look for 3091.
Also, crystals have cool things when crystals with not perfectly aligned matrices end up growing into each other. And then there's a lot of interesting math that goes on there that has applications all over the place outside of crystals. That's cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. So there's something that you can do for your own just edification, right? Self-paced through it. But to our audience, also, almost, just so you guys know, almost all of MIT's, at least our undergraduate courses, are available for free online at OpenCourseWare. So ocw.mit.edu.
They won't give you a degree for taking those classes, but you'll still learn it.
Right, exactly. You can't get a degree through that, but it's kind of the information should be free and available to everybody. Right. If you want the like MIT stamp of approval that you know this stuff, you got to go get a degree from them. But the information is free and available.
Yep. Also, I mean, if you were trying to test out of college courses, having already taken them through MIT's online thing, that might work.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
Tiktaalik, who's been a member for 8 months at the Amniote level, says Spanish Inquisition. Bet you didn't expect it. I didn't. I never expect that. Never. Actually, oddly enough, this is the second Spanish Inquisition thing I've been sent. Because I was also recently sent, like, basically amounts to, like, the booking info for one Jorge who was arrested by the Spanish Inquisition for, let me see, double check. Oh, I made Maddie small because I'm bad at this. I'll try to check on my phone so that way I can tell you without making Maddie tiny. Because it was sent to me via Discord, so I can't check it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Jorge Duarte for blasphemy, tener un diablo familiar, so having a devilish spirit, familiar, okay. Yeah. Y comer carne los viernes, so and also ate meat on Fridays.
Oh.
Yeah, come on, guys, don't do that. That's too much, way too much.
Heresy.
Also, My goodness, that Dr. Tapioca Weasel just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So, Maddie, are you ready to drink 5 times? Here we go.
I am. Cheers.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Good thing I like this beer.
Right? So, Robert adds it. I'm going to go with Border Barbecue. This is BBQ, but that's short for barbecue. We don't know that. Smitty, Tesla Ranger, and Snorefoot have all received memberships. And thank you, everyone, for sending the tetrapod emojis. And yes, as Space Dragon put in 5 drink emojis, which is, in fact, what we just did. All right, guys. We're going to get a little bit more Matt in. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get my second bottle of soju. Because I guess my night is getting soju drunk. Which, you know what? When I was in the Navy, we went to Korea, they told us not to have soju. It was actually forbidden. And, like, everyone did anyway. But, like, to be fair, soju sneaks up on you. Because it is super smooth. And you can drink a lot of soju before you realize what you've done. And then, like, you stand up from your table at the Korean barbecue place. And you're like, oh, I see. I've had far more than I was expecting. Anyway, here we go.
Oldest scrap of the Earth's crust. Folks, they contain helium inside of them. It slips out of the rocks.
Okay. But also, it's produced in the rocks.
And it's continuous. It's being produced even now.
Right. Like right now, a 4.4 billion year old crystal is having alpha decays occur inside of it that are producing new helium atoms.
So just for reference, that zircon, right? So this is specifically uranium-235 and uranium-238 decaying, but it's mostly uranium-238 because that's the most common form. The half-life of uranium-238 to get to lead is 4.5 billion years. So it's undergone 1 half-life, right?
Half of it's still there.
Half of the uranium is still there,
right.
And it has a very long decay chain, emitting alpha particles at like most of the steps.
Mm-hmm. I had to memorize that decay chain at one point.
Yeah, I had it memorized at one point.
Yeah, I don't have it memorized now. Don't even ask.
Not anymore.
I would look it up if I had to know it.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is how most things work. Like, your doctor doesn't have everything memorized. He goes and looks things up all the time. Scientists go and look things up all the time. Most of what I find is, like, scholarship is a deep understanding of where to find the information you're looking for. Not necessarily a deep knowledge of it in all cases.
Right. Well, and, like, knowing the good questions to ask, if that makes sense. Like, what is the age of crystals is not a good question.
Yeah, that's a weird... Like,
it's a weird question.
Yeah.
Like, your doctor isn't Googling what is antibiotic. It's like, ooh, is it this one or this one that's best for this type of bacteria? Right? Like, that's what they're Googling.
By the
Dr.
way,
Google.
Shipfish asks, where do I get soju? I get it at the local international market, which it started as a Korean market, so that's one of the reasons why they have a large selection of Korean and also Japanese alcohol. But also, since then, it started as like a Korean market, then it expanded into like Japanese food, because there's a lot of, for good and bad reasons, there's a lot of cultural contact between Japan and Korea. And then it kind of expanded into like, now it has like Chinese, Indian, Middle Eastern, European imports, all sorts of stuff. I go to so like if you have a local like Korean market or local international like import specialist grocery store, or if you have like a local East Asian place, like there are a few chains in North America that specialize in East Asian imports. So you'll get things from like Japan, China, Korea. Sometimes you can get stuff from like Vietnam or Thailand or something like that in there. Those are the places I would go. Most liquor stores that I find in the United States that are just general liquor stores are probably not going to have it. Most non-specialist supermarkets aren't going to have it. I get it at a local, like I said, international grocery store, which is where I get like my kimchi, and sometimes I get like.
We were talking about kimchi pre-stream.
Yeah.
We both have a local Korean.
It's where I get like bulk soy sauce, bulk sesame oil, bulk kimchi, daikon radishes, stuff. It's like where I get that stuff, because I do a lot of like East Asian type dishes. Like I'll cook bulgogi or like chicken fried rice or something like that. That's a pretty staple kind of meal that I like to prepare. So it's handy to have a market that specializes in that kind of stuff. Also,
after this
it's where I get my rose water.
Oh, nice. After this stream, I'm going to eat some of the congee I made yesterday.
Ooh, yum.
I put bacon in it.
Hey, you know what? That sounds delicious.
I slow cooked the bacon in with the whole time.
For those of you who might not know, that's a Chinese rice pudding. It's usually like a breakfast type food. So like it's like
so it's more of a rice. It's a rice porridge, but you get some of the texture of rice pudding
porridge,
because of how it's cooked.
Anyway, work in progress. Welcome to the channel membership program as a tetrapod. Guys, send some tetrapods emojis. All right, so we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to grab, like I said, my other bottle of soju. We might take some, few minutes for biology and things like that. So in the meantime, enjoy the intermission, which will have ads and music. So there you go. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me, those of you who did, which, like usual, is most of you. While while I was gone, we got 10 more gifted memberships. So we're going to start with the first 5, which were gifted by Work in Progress, who gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. 1 to Ian Debunked, 1 to James Duncan, 1 to Dragons. I just lost it. Goodness. Sorry. Got away from me. There we go. 1 for Dragon Spartan 90 and Colin Dietrich, who were and Jarrett Tilford. So here's 5 drinks for that. 1.
I did mine while
2.
you were talking.
Oh, okay. I didn't, because I was talking. 3.
Because you were talking, yeah.
4. And 5. All right. Here we go. Let's grab the next 5. So these were gifted by DM Wing, who gifted memberships to, I think it's Sa B. It's capital S-A-H space B. If I pronounce anyone's name wrong, please tag me. Let me know how to say your name correctly. If possible, use the International Phonetic Alphabet. If not, try to use like a phonetic English spelling, or tell me the language of origin, both of which, you know, those might work. Sandino Flores, Robert Carpenter, Savage Cobra 42, and Kaylee P.
Excuse me,
all
sorry.
Gifted. Yes, we're all gifted memberships. And also, Erachamian has become a member at the tetrapod level, which we don't drink for non-gifted memberships, but I do appreciate it. And we have plenty of tetrapods that have been placed in the chat. So here's 5 more drinks. So let me get my drink counter ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. There we go. That's a lot of drinks real fast. And then it's time to get into my quick post-intermission channel, like, commercial. So, guys, I'm sure you guys know that YouTube is super volatile, right? Like, I can go up and down on YouTube income $400 or $500 from month to month, right? It's very hard to budget based on just YouTube alone. However, the channel memberships and the Patreon for the channel are a much steadier way that helps me do things like how much can I consistently spend on even just groceries month to month, right? So if you want to help support the channel, want the channel to keep going, to hopefully grow, there are new software and hardware upgrades I would like to make when I, have enough money to do so to help the channel out. Do check out the Patreon or the channel membership program that many of you have just been added to generously, because those right there are really the most reliable way that the channel supports itself. Because this channel is almost entirely supported by viewers. Direct money from ads is basically nothing, right? YouTube's ad share revenue from ads is basically nothing. So almost all the money that comes in to help keep this channel going comes from direct support, whether it be from Patreon, channel memberships, super chats, super thanks, super stickers, merch store purchases. I have a merch store linked in the description. And if you don't want to just directly donate any money, but you still want to help the channel out, or just me out, because sometimes I like to do recreational stuff and just relax. There's stuff like that.
What?
I know, right?
Not allowed.
There's stuff like that in the Amazon wish list. So there's both stuff that can help the channel as well as just stuff for fun, feeling generous. Like I said, there's a merch store. And if none of that's right, please just like the video, share it with people you think will enjoy it. And yeah, and also now that we've had 15 gift memberships, I actually need to do a little bit of math to figure out how close we are to feathers, as Science Sim says, for the feathers for $5, because we're probably pretty close to having another feather video, which would mean that we only skipped like one video of no feathers. So real quick, let me do just a quick bit of math. So that's... And then it's, oh my goodness, Erachamian just gifted 5 more. So hold on. Yeah, no, that puts us at feathers for the next video. So yeah, that's that actually puts us let's see, about 40, or no, not 40, $63 away from having to wear a tutu next time. So let's drink 5 more times.
Okay, yeah, that
Goodness.
finished my beer.
Do you have a second one handy?
I do have a second one handy.
I
got it on break.
All right, here we go.
This one is a lower alcohol point.
Yeah, that's fair. The soju is not lower. 2.
I think it's lower.
3. 4.
Yeah.
5. Okay. Goodness. All right, let me take a look.
I'm switching to this pumpkin pie treat. It's really it's an interesting beer. It's a sour base, but it's kind of like a pumpkin-y notes.
Okay. I can see that.
We've
got Peter Lamboy, Apocalypse Meow, Vesta Freya, Big Thinker, Sarah L. Jones, and Lady Rorschach were all gifted memberships. So welcome, guys. So if you're a new member, which there's now like 22 of you, right? So yeah, there's a bunch of you. What is that like? It's like a quarter of the people watching basically are new members. Check out my community tab. There are members only posts that will take you to early access videos. Also, go on Discord, link your Discord to your YouTube account, and you will be added to my members and patrons only Discord, which is a great way to get a hold of me. We have talks in there. There are people who play D&D in there. We have a gaming channel. We have a special Minecraft channel in there. And after Tuesday shows, I hang out as sort of an after party in voice chat, and we watch movies or shows or something. Often it's Power Rangers because it's nerdy, and also you don't have to pay a lot of attention, so we can have a lot of like crosstalk and whatever, and like you're not missing that much when we're watching Power Rangers. So yeah, and just enjoy the emojis and the special icons next to your name and early access. I think there's just, last time I did the math, there's about 8 hours worth of early access content that you currently have access to. You could spend like a day binging Dabber Dino. That could be your thing for a day, is just going through the early access stuff. I'm currently scripting a new series of videos. It's going to be about an ICR Q&A about dinosaurs, and they can't get through the first question without telling a blatant lie. So that tells you how the Q&A is going to go. I got very angry. Let's just say this. Because I can censor my scripted videos, I don't have to always hold back the F-bombs. My script already has like 4 of them, which is a record for me, by the way. It's that bad. So if you're a member or a patron, you can look forward to that in like the next week or 2. If you're not, you can look forward to that in like March or something.
Amazing.
All right, here we go. Here's some more Matt Powell now that we've been back from our break for like a quarter hour already.
I'm feeling
Now,
loose.
this is from the New York Times.
Okay,
It says,
New York Times.
Turns out all of humanity is related to a single couple.
That's not true.
No.
Oh my gosh.
All right, well, we'll take it. We'll take a drink.
Oh, I mean, unless they're referring to like mitochondrial Eve's like
her main squeeze
guy.
Yeah.
If we just hear main squeeze, if we assume she's in a
Well, that's the thing. We don't even know. Mitochondrial Eve could have had like 40 kids by 40 different guys. There's no way to know.
Who knows?
So here's the thing,
Listen, girl's got to get her something.
Not going to disagree. Look, you guys do what you want, have fun, but be safe, and make sure everything's consensual. You follow those rules,
Consent
we're
sexy.
good. Yeah. Consent,
Yeah.
safe,
So sexy.
and there you go. As far as I'm concerned, once you have those 2 things taken care of, whatever
Like
else.
you do you, my friend. I don't care.
40, 60, 80, 2, whatever. Anyway, mitochondrial Eve and Y-chromosome Adam did not know each other. They were separated by thousands of years. The fact that there is a most recent common male ancestor and a most common recent female ancestor is a mathematical certainty. But it's also that they are not 2 individuals who actually reproduced with each other. It's not how it works.
No.
So let's, because I'm sure, and look, technically this counts as a prediction, so I guess we'll drink for it. But I'm sure what Matt is about to do is he's about to do the same thing he did with Fox News, but this time with the New York Times. He reads an article, headline, probably doesn't go any farther, and then just says, see, science confirms Adam and Eve. Which, no, it doesn't. And even if Adam and Eve were historical people, were the first two Homo sapiens, who then the rest of Homo sapiens came from, that still doesn't mean that they're Y chromosome Adam and mitochondrial Eve. That would still likely be their descendants.
Yeah.
So everything about this is about to be stupid, I can tell.
It sounds like something I've read.
Yeah, it does.
Back in Sunday.
It's almost like they made a clickbait article, or title, or headline, or whatever, to get clicks. But it's basically a lie.
School. A new study reveals that all humans are descendants of the same man and woman. Now look, when it comes
the same one man and the same one woman, who again, weren't a couple.
Weren't they separated by like 10,000 years?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, they're separated by more time than Matt thinks the Earth has existed in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That sentence almost made sense.
And Monkey for Banana correctly points out that under young Earth creationism, Noah should be the Y chromosome Adam. And to be fair,
sure,
many creationists talk about Y chromosome Noah for that reason. So many of them do know that, and they account for that in their language. And if you look at like Nathaniel Jeanson's recent silliness about how he can trace everyone back to Noah, like he knows that too, right? He traces Y chromosome haplogroups to what he says is Noah, which is actually just a node on an unrooted Y chromosome tree that when you root it, when anyone tries to actually root it, doesn't root there. But you know what? He just pretends, one, that mutation rate is replacement rate, and two, he pretends that he can just root trees where he feels like it. He doesn't have to give explanations for that. Turns out both of those are nonsense. It turns out that when you actually do statistics to root the tree roots between haplogroups A and B in the Y chromosome lineages, and that basically everything besides A is more closely related to B than any of them are to A, which ruins his whole idea of where the sons of Noah come from. But it also turns out that because Nathaniel Jeanson himself accepts that natural selection is a thing that has affected humans, that in and of itself invalidates his assumption that the mutation rate just is the replacement rate. So we'll real quick talk about the replacement rate, since this is related to this. So the phylogenetic replacement rate is the rate at which new mutations fix in a population. So let's say that you have a population of humans who have a Y chromosome haplogroup, which is, like every population of humans, because that's how haplogroups work. Anyway, someone has a mutation, right? So somewhere in their Y chromosome, we'll say some G turns to a T, right? Single point mutation. Okay, well, in order for that mutation to spread to the entire population, a number of things have to happen. One is other lineages have to go extinct, right? Otherwise, it won't be the whole population. Also, that mutation can't be selected against, which means, because if it's selected against by natural selection, then it won't persist. That's what being selected against means. But also, let's say that you're testing a mutation rate, and in mutation rates, in like pedigree studies where you check like father or grandfather, father, son, and then maybe like grandson or whatever, right? You're not normally taking sperm samples. Just going to put that out there. Normally, you're taking like saliva or blood samples, right? Because well, it's a bit inappropriate to take sperm samples in these cases, right? It's a little weird, little iffy. But here's the thing, right? Let's say that as you're developing, one of your cells has a mutation in the Y chromosome. Because remember, every time cells divide, there are mutations, right? So if a mutation occurs in a somatic cell, but not in a germline cell, that is a cell that will result in a gamete, that mutation won't be passed on, but it will be registered in the DNA test. Because again, you're not sampling sperm cells normally. You're sampling somatic cells normally. So that mutation also won't make it through. So for all of these reasons, the mutation rate that you just measure by getting like saliva swabs from 3 generations of men are not going to be the same as the rate at which new mutations fix in the population. But Nathaniel Jeanson just pretends that they are, and only by doing so can he jam all of human genetic diversity into 6,000 years. And he knows he's wrong because, again, he recognizes things like natural selection. And I'm sure if you asked him, he would say, well, yes, somatic cell mutations don't get passed on in the germline. Only germline mutations can be passed on. And even then, not all of them. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but the vast majority of gametes, both sperm and egg, won't result in new individuals of the species. Right? Like if you're female, you've made several thousand eggs. No one has several thousand babies.
I have one baby.
Yeah. If you're male,
except my fur babies, but that's different.
Well, they probably didn't inherit any of your genetic material. I'm going to go out on a limb.
They did not. If you've been paying attention to me instead of you during the last 5 minutes, you've seen Chester just collapse more and more into me.
But
he's very good.
And then males tend to produce like billions of sperm. No man has ever had billions of kids. Not even Genghis Khan got even close. So even if a mutation happens in a germline cell, that's still not a guarantee that it will get passed on. So there's so many reasons why all of this just does not comport with young Earth creationism. David Lass, who's been a member for 3 months at the sauropod level, which is one of the higher levels. Thank you very much, David Lass. Says, Matt Powell never ceases to test my patience and alcohol supply. Yeah, tell me about it. The breaks in hearing Matt Powell talk allow me to cut my alcohol intake in half. Thank you for your commentary, Dapper and friends. Well, thank you for your support. Look, this is one of those situations where it's like, I suffer through this so you don't have to do it unfiltered, right? Like, I don't recommend that anyone who is not basically a professional at this, which technically I am, ever watch an unfiltered Matt Powell video. You should only watch it through the filter of someone who is reasonably intelligent and reasonably informed on these topics. Anyway, let's hear Matt Powell pretend that the mathematical inevitability of a most recent common male and female line ancestor for some reason means that Adam and Eve were real.
When it comes to peer review, there's scientists that reject evolution. Many scientists reject it, and they found...
Okay.
No, define many.
Right. Here's the thing, right? Project Steve is the thing. Project Steve was an attempt to counter the list of scientists who doubt Darwin project from, I think, ICR. And they got...
Did they do a list of scientists named Steve?
They did. It's exactly... Well, okay, so Steve counts Stephen with a PH, Stephen with an F, Stephanie, Stephanos. Basically, as long as your name is etymologically related to the Greek word Stephanos, which means crown, you can sign. They got more scientists named Steve, which make up approximately 1% of scientists, to sign their, yes, Darwinism is a valid theory that is strongly supported statement. Then the creationists could get scientists total who signed
That's delightful.
their statement. And by the way, a large portion of the scientists who signed the creationist thing didn't know what they were signing and have since requested to have their names removed, a request which has been ignored. Which means, at best, 99%, like, most generous to the creationists, 99% of scientists are not people who reject evolution.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if 99% of what's in your cup is water, you're just drinking pure water. If you had 198 proof liquor, you could say that you're just drinking alcohol. No one cares about the other 1%.
Yeah.
By all reasonable... Oh, we're going to drink from Mothra.
Cheers.
By any reasonable standard, you can just say all scientists accept, well, science, basically.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a tiny number of scientists compared to the total number who are young Earth creationists. I mean, look, any population is going to have their cranks, right? You say, hey, out of all the PhDs, are there any flat earthers? I don't know. Yeah, probably. You can probably find a couple. Because, you know what? Any large population is going to have its weird outliers. So, here we go. Actually, someone points out like 99% water, 1% cyanide. You know what? Depending on how much water it is, that might be okay.
True.
There's a safe amount of cyanide to eat. It's true. Look, here's the thing. I was once asked by someone...
It's about the amount that's in an almond?
Yeah. Look, I was asked by someone like, hey, would you voluntarily eat a poison? I'm like, I do that all the time, man. I've got nutmeg in my kitchen. I have alcohol. Like, even freaking chocolate is poisonous if you eat enough of it. I know, because I've had chocolate poisoning when I was a kid, because I ate way too much chocolate that one time.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I actually gave myself chocolate poisoning. Not severe, like I was just throwing up and very feverish and sick for a while, but like that's what happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a...
Baby Dapper ate way too much chocolate.
Poor Baby Dapper.
But anyway, yeah, I voluntarily eat poisons all the time. I just don't do it in dangerous doses.
Yeah.
Found that all of us are related to a single couple.
No, they
Now,
didn't.
if evolution were true, we would have a bunch of different primate ancestors.
Which we do, including all your parents. Hey, fun fact. Your baby, Maddie, has a primate mom. And a primate dad.
She sure does.
Yeah.
And she herself is a primate.
Indeed. Because that's how taxonomy works.
How that works.
From billions of years ago.
No, billions of years. Oh my goodness. There were no primates billions of years ago. There were no animals billions of years ago. Animals don't go back a full billion years. They go back like 800 million years, roughly. Which, to be fair, is a long time.
It's a long time.
Billions. So we're going to take a drink for their primates billions of years ago.
Dapper, how long have, like, not just Homo sapiens, but like genus Homo, when did that show up?
Okay, so at the risk of having the wrath of Gutsick Gibbon pour down upon me, because I don't know for certain, I believe, and take this with a big truckload of salt, about 3-ish million years.
Okay. So,
I mean, that's a big, like, I would have to look this up, I don't know, for off the top of my head kind of deal.
well, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I wanted to point out that the space between like life showing up and an animal showing up, right? Is orders of magnitude greater than the time like any genus Homo has shown up, right? Like that's yeah.
Animals show up about.
Sorry, that was kind of a clunky example, but I like to try to use some analogies to wrap our heads around deep.
Even if I'm pretty wrong, it's more than 1 million years ago, and so basically there are 2 orders of magnitude you have to add on the time that animals have been around compared to the time that genus Homo has been around.
Right, to get back to when life first showed
Border
up.
Barbecue says 3 to 5 million years, which is still 2 orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
So, which means that we don't get to give Matt this one because we only go for 1 free order of magnitude.
1 free order of
and
magnitude.
By saying,
that's true.
Also, by saying billions, he's actually 3 orders of magnitude off. So when we give him the 1 free order of magnitude that we give to young Earth creationists because they're so bad at most science things.
What's an order of magnitude between friends?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Even then, you're still 2 orders of magnitude off, even with the free order of magnitude. So, and then Tesla Ranger says, Wikipedia says 2.8. I'm going to say that since I was going with the nearest million, that counts as a win for me, because 2.8 obviously rounds to 3 when you're going to nearest million years. Only 1 decimal point of accuracy, or 1 significant digit. So, by the way, sorry, Erica. Every time I talk about primates, I feel like at some point you're just going to show up and berate me for how much I get wrong, because I'm sure I am getting plenty of things wrong every time.
I just have to apologize to like all the science friends anytime I try to talk about biology. So sorry. Animals exist.
This is true. You are right. Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
But according to the New York Times, which just released this, by the way, they're saying all humans descended from the same man and woman.
Who aren't a couple.
So even secularists are admitting now that we were correct, that God's word was correct.
No,
honey.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to take a drink.
Yeah. No, honey.
Even if there weren't about 10,000 or so years between Y-chromosome Adam and mitochondrial Eve, even if they were contemporary, they still almost certainly didn't know each other. And they almost certainly didn't reproduce together.
Right. Because can't we, like, by we, I mean people who know biology, roughly geographically?
That I don't know.
Why? Okay.
I don't know about that.
I might be making that up.
Dr. Tapioca Weasel says, that sounds like an abusive friendship. To be fair to Gutsa Gibbon, she's never actually done that. That's just my personal paranoia. So, if it's an abusive relationship, it's my abusive relationship with myself. So, please don't blame Erica for any of that. Because that's entirely my imagination. Because I just assume I'm super wrong about it, and I just assume that she'll be super offended by it, even though she never is. So, and I mean, in large part, that's because, look, she knows I'm like arguing in good faith. I'm not trying to get things wrong, but sometimes I make mistakes. And often, I'll actually ask her, like, hey, I need some info on primates. And she'll often get back to me. So.
Oh, gosh. I do that to you. I do that to Erica. I do that to Dr. Dan. Right? I'm like, I need you all to explain this to me like I'm 5 because not my field. I haven't taken a biology class since.
That's why we cultivate friendships with people outside the areas that we spend most of our time in. So we can have those resources.
And you guys sat through my prepping for my general exam defense.
Yeah, we did.
I practiced on the science front.
All right, here we go.
They also found that every 9 out of 10 animals came from the same original creatures. Oh, wow.
What does that mean?
Oh, I think he's pivoting and talking about Noah, that like, oh, hey, we can find this same like common ancestor kind of thing for most species. Therefore, the species all of those species came from a single pair of animals.
But that's a mathematical certainty.
Mm-hmm.
All organisms that share common descent with each other, any group of organisms that share a common descent, will have a most recent common ancestor, male and female, who, as long as you're talking about sexually reproducing species, whose common ancestor themselves was also sexually reproducing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to find a common male ancestor between humans and mushrooms, because their common ancestor was not a sexually reproduced species. But you're going to find a common ancestor for males and females between, like, humans and sharks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, could you actually do the test and actually find out exactly when those organisms lived? Yeah, probably not. But, like, mathematically, it's certain that that's the case. So I don't know what significance Matt wants to draw from the mathematical certainty that any population that shares common ancestry will have a most recent common male and female ancestry, provided those organisms share common ancestors that were themselves sexually reproducing and from whom they derived that sexually reproducing character.
I think we should maybe add a statistics class to Matt's course list.
Yeah, but that's not first. First up is just like basic communication.
Basic communication, like communication and rhetoric. Matt Powell, if you ever watch this, that is a genuine I would love to fund you taking a class from an accredited university on communication and rhetoric.
Yeah.
Like Speech 101, would love you to take that. Right?
Like, honestly, Matt,
it can be a Christian university. It just needs to be accredited.
I don't need you to be right. I need you to be coherent.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I would like to start. Have ideas.
Would love to start there.
Have ideas that actually are ideas, rather than just confused jumbles of words that don't communicate things.
Well, and like it takes. So okay, I love to teach, right? I taught in the Navy for 4 years. I take on TA, like where I get to teach classes at the university here as often. right? I love doing that. And a lot of the like grading and like teaching, a lot of the challenge of it is the like figuring out based off of what a student says, what they think is going on, right? Like, I'm like, this is very wrong. What do you think is happening? Right? And like digging down and Matt Powell, like doing this stuff with you is like the hardest I have ever had to work at understanding what another person is trying to say. Right?
Yeah, Matt, you're worse than Maddie's worst student.
Yeah. I like to think that I'm kind of good at figuring that out. Right? I tutor children sometimes. Right?
Actual babies.
Actual children. Yeah. So like I think I'm pretty good at figuring this out. Like, I am, at least for a scientist, very good at communication, and like I'm going to assume that we're on like having an honest exchange of ideas until proven otherwise.
Big assumption.
And like I know, but I'm a better person for maintaining that assumption, right? Like I know I'm wrong a lot of the time, but I would be worse if I believe. And like Matt, like it's so hard to understand you, and I'm sorry, like I know that's hard. I mean that, like I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say, and it's difficult. And like that's such a like communication is such a good skill to have. So that's my.
All right, well, let's get some more of the.
That's all I got. I can't say anything else without getting. Sorry, I just.
All right.
So we didn't all come from a single-celled organism.
Stop it, Matt.
Honey.
I'm taking a drink.
Honey.
That the most recent common ancestor of humans wasn't single-celled is a surprise to no one.
Oh, sweetie.
No one predicted the most recent male or female common ancestor of humans was anything but a human. If you could go and meet mitochondrial Eve, she would just look like a person. She wouldn't be special in any identifiable way. I don't.
And if you took her, right, and the population of humans that existed at that time, there would be a most recent common ancestor that they all descended from.
They would have their own mitochondrial Eve, who would be a different woman from farther back.
Yeah.
And
at some point, jumping back, we would get into like looking a little less human, you know? But like, oh, Matt, honey, no.
Also,
most recent common ancestor isn't the same as original ancestor. Right. Honey.
And also, she had female contemporaries who still have descendants. It's just that you can't trace them from mother to mother to mother to mother all the way back. At some point, there's a son in there that breaks the female line ancestry. The same thing with Y-chromosome Adam. Y-chromosome Adam had male contemporaries who still have descendants. It's just that you can't trace all of them back father to father to father. There are some daughters in that line. Like, this is not rocket science, right? Like, this is pretty basic.
It's not even rocket surgery.
Yeah, no, it's not. Although I would say brain surgery, but Ben Carson has proved you don't actually have to be very smart to be an excellent brain surgeon. So
it's true. What's the phrase? It's a malformism when you fuse two common sayings together. Like, it's not rocket surgery. It's
I don't
one
know
of my
what
favorites.
That's called.
I think it's called a malformism.
It might be.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Delightful.
Yeah,
my favorite is actually, we'll burn that bridge when we get to
it. Hey, you know what? That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
No, my favorite Ben Carson thing was the pyramids were grain silos for the famine of Joseph from the Bible. It's like, my guy. The pyramids have almost no empty space internally. They are fundamentally ill-suited to be granaries. Why would you do that? Why would anyone make that a granary?
It's a really bad design, honey.
Yeah. But hey, you know what?
Oh.
He's a world-renowned neurosurgeon who had many world firsts in neurosurgery. So the only thing I can conclude is that being a neurosurgeon doesn't make you very smart outside of neurosurgery.
Well, I think what that proves is something to be wary of, especially like for me, like as I'm trying to finish my PhD, is remember that being an expert in one thing does not make me an expert in other things.
True.
And being highly educated does not make me unsusceptible to undue influence.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think sometimes people are like, I'm a doctor, therefore I know everything about everything. It's like, no. If you're like, if that degree doesn't come with a heavy helping of humility, you know, and respect for other fields, we're like, I spent 10 years studying this one thing. Geez, you spent 10 years studying something completely different. You know so much that I don't,
Yeah.
you know?
And vice versa, to be fair.
Yeah.
Could I separate conjoined twins who shared brain matter and have them both survive?
Sure couldn't.
No, I could not.
Absolutely
could I
not.
tell you whether or not a particular structure is fundamentally unsuited to the role of granary? Yes.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
90% of Earth's animals appeared at the same time.
Okay, I'm familiar with this one too. We're going to take a drink.
I'm drinking.
Yeah.
At the same time, geologically.
So here's the thing about this study, right?
Yeah.
It did not say that these species appeared at the same time. It said that their mitochondrial most recent common ancestor was, for 90% of extant species studied, was within about an order of magnitude of each other. Which means that what we're getting is not a lifetime for species, we're getting an average time to mitochondrial lineage fixation, right? Where all members of the population have the same mitochondrial lineage. How far back do you normally have to go? Turns out for 90% of species, it's about 10,000-ish years ago. Okay, that doesn't tell you when the species originated. Most species are older than that. Apocalypse Meow for $4.99 says, just supporting, y'all are amazing. Well, thank you very much, Apocalypse Meow.
Thanks, Apocalypse Meow.
And I really appreciate that, but frankly, the fact that you guys are here supporting the channel is really what's amazing to me. Because quite frankly, the fact that y'all like my trash is just weird. Because, like, I very rarely watch my own stuff. So the fact that y'all love this and, you know, are willing to support and basically make this something that I can do, at least for now, as, like, the thing I mainly do is, quite frankly, amazing. So thank you very much. Anyway, so let's see how Matt characterizes the study that actually says 90% of species are about within an order of magnitude or so in terms of how long it is to their most recent mitochondrial ancestor. Which, by the way, is a weird finding, right? Like, I wouldn't have predicted that, but, like, it's not going to help.
Yeah, I don't, just me, my math brain is saying, like, so therefore there's something physically common that's happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know, because biology is not my field. I'm just thinking statistics wise,
Look,
you would get that.
I'm not sure what the answer is either. But also, it also begs the question of, like, okay, Matt, how do you account for the other 10%?
Yeah.
Because old Earthers don't have a problem with that other 10%. But you sure as hell do.
You sure do. Yeah, so most is not all, and guy, you all for your...
Oh, yeah. Oh, and there's Godzilla. We're going to take a drink for Godzilla. All right, let's see what we got.
So if all animals appeared at the same time, are they going to appear through a
Not what that
magic
says
act?
at all.
Right. Well, it's what the headline says, which is all he ever cares about, but it's not what the actual study said.
Or by
The
intelligent
headline
design?
says 90%. Not
Well,
all.
he says, there's a number of things. One, it doesn't say all, but also the actual article doesn't even say they all appeared at the same time. Also, we're going to back up a little bit.
No, you said that Matt is going off the headline. I can read the headline on his screen.
Yeah, he gets it wrong.
And it says 90%.
Yeah, so Matt isn't even going off the headline. He's going off of, like, a weird, his own idiosyncratic...
Imagination.
Yes. Uh-oh. Did I crash? Did I crash the program? I think I might have.
Oh no.
All right, I think I did. Yeah, it's crashed. Okay, guys. I'm going to quickly note down when this was so that I can get back there. We don't have too much longer, but it's, let's see.
Why don't you do that and I'll do my shills now?
Yeah, do shill stuff. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly go to the intermission screen, but I'm not gonna mute you. I'm gonna mute
Okay.
the video. Oh goodness, hold on. Now it's just playing. Give me a second.
Okay. Hi, team. How are you? It's good to see you here. I'm Maddie. You can find some of my science communication stuff over at Science Side Up. I haven't uploaded videos there in a while. That is 100% because I have a 2-month-old baby. And that's just been tricksy.
Are we just going to be tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine? When they're like, have you changed your position on this at all, Matt? Could you be
Dapper's
wrong? What they're asking
Power Rangers
could you be tossed?
campaign that we do every other Wednesday on his Top Hats Off channel. I play in it, Teeny Lane, Bent Hovend. It's a good time. And you can also see me and Cheshire Vic will be on. So we just did a Halloweeny 3-shot in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition that Chesh DM'd on Amateurish Productions over on Twitch. And I am going to be running a 1-page RPG 1-shot with that same group on December 11th. And we'll be doing that. We're doing different, probably 1-shots about once a month. So me and Chesh and some other folks doing tabletop stuff. Okay, I shilled. Amateurish Productions. That's
there
the
you
Twitch
go.
channel.
Maddie, are you watching the stream again?
I am watching the stream.
Okay, here we go.
He reveals that 90% of Earth's animals appeared at the same time.
So he does know what the actual headline is. He's just going to lie about it blatantly.
He can read.
So if all animals appeared at the same time,
just drink.
Are they going to appear through a magic act or by intelligent design?
Neither, my dude. Because that's not what any of this means. Because you only read the headline, and then you just lied about it.
Yeah. So, like, I know I was really snarky, and I was like, oh, Matt can read. Like, he can read, but my guy, it feels like your reading comprehension is low.
Oh, yeah.
Like, upsettingly low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please, 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 please take a communications class.
Seriously. Or just a remedial English class.
Yeah, that would be fine, too. Like, take an English class. Anything where you have to, like, read and digest and present information, you know?
Vandali1998, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I did miss it while I was fiddling with the stream. Vandali1998 said for $5, biology not your field? You mean you're not an expert in all the science?
No, it turns out no one's an expert in all this. This isn't 63.
Well, except for me, obviously. Because I've been around long enough to become an expert in all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. 150 million years, of which, like, maybe 300 years has had science. Maybe. Depending on how you define it, how generous you are.
So at one point in time, you knew all the science. It's just that year was 1693.
Man, I'm behind. On some things. I'm actually pretty current on other things.
You're up to date on others, but you can't keep up to date with everything.
Yeah, what I need is some clones. I need to do some, like, multiplicity shenanigans.
Yeah. That's what humans are really good at, right? We divide and conquer. We allow other people to, like, be experts, and have expertise in, like, different subfields. Even, like, oh, you're gonna, like, work the farm? Great. I'm gonna get really good at baking. And we can have a society together.
Actually, we talked a little bit about that, I think, on the last Kent with Bent, where we talked about, like getting calories is tough if you're a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to get to a certain level of technological development before you can get to the point where you can have people whose job isn't just get as many calories as possible today.
Yeah.
And anyway, we're going to get some more Matt Powell, and we're pretty close to where we're going to leave off with this. We actually made pretty good progress today. So I'm impressed. But also, Theros Rex says for $2, what is the airspeed of an unladen swallow? Well, of course, I don't know, because you haven't specified whether you mean African or European. I can't answer that question.
Because remember, they always say the Christian's book, that's a magic book. That's a bunch of magic and fiction and fables.
Okay, here's one thing. Don't say the Bible is fiction, because that's the wrong genre, right? Even if you don't think it's true. It's not fiction. Now, there are a few parts of it that actually might be fiction, like Job and Jonah, where like there's still some debate as to whether the authorial intent was for people to believe this or not.
Yeah.
But fiction is intentionally not true stories that are not intended to be believed or presented for entertainment. Myth,
And something...
mythohistory, legend, history, biography, theodicy. None of these are fiction. Different things. So please don't say the Bible's fiction. It's just not true.
So something that I learned listening to Digital Hammurabi, which is a great channel.
Agreed.
Is that it never occurred to me, but that there are genres of literature that genres of writing that existed in ancient times that now.
She said do not exist. Sorry, you cut out.
Sorry, yeah, that used to exist but do not exist. So you and I, if I pick up a book and I open it up, I'm going to know pretty quickly if I'm reading poetry or not poetry, right? If I'm reading a play, if I'm reading a newspaper article versus, vampire romance, right? And I don't need you to like tell me up front, this is a vampire romance, right?
You'll figure it out when the sexy vampires show up.
Exactly. Like you'll figure it out from reading because like that's a thing that I know exists in my culture. But like, whoa, of course genres of literature change over time. Of course ancient people they wouldn't know what a sexy vampire novel was. Right? And similarly, they have types of stories that were obvious to them what they were and what the intent was that's not obvious to us. And those types of stories exist in the Bible, right? And they exist across other ancient Near Eastern cultures. And that's really cool. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, genre matters. Turns out what a text is trying to say and why it was written matters for your understanding of it. Weird.
All right, we're going to get a little bit more Matt in, and then we're going to start wrapping things up.
Now, you know what's magical? Saying that the universe created itself from nothing.
Well, okay, here's the thing. There are some people who would make that argument. Not very many. Most concepts of the history of the universe don't start with nothing. But even if they do, as long as the sum total that you're left with after the initial start of the universe is still zero, you kind of can get something from nothing. Because here's the thing, right? Let's say you go with the first law of thermodynamics, which Cuban summed up as like, energy can't be created or destroyed. But here's the real answer. Here's what that really means is the sum total of energy in a system, an isolated system, can't change. But if you start with zero and you get a whole bunch of negative and a whole bunch of positive, and it's equal on both sides of that balance, you know what that comes out to?
Zero.
So
here's actually a great example. I love pair production. It's a very, very cool process. But you can get pair production this way. So imagine you have a very high energy photon, right? And it's it's this circle I'm making with my hand, right? This is our high energy photon, and it is still. Okay, it's not moving. It has no momentum. I guess it's moving, but don't worry about it. It has zero momentum.
For the sake of argument, okay.
For the sake of the argument, photon momentum is like different than what we normally think of as momentum. Don't worry about it. It has zero momentum. It's here. If this photon is high energy enough, it can spontaneously split into an electron and a positron. So there's a few things that are always conserved, right? Energy, charge. But let's think about charge and momentum for just a second. A photon doesn't have a charge, right? But an electron has a negative charge. A positron has a positive charge. So if I'm going to turn a photon into two particles, I've got to have one that's negatively charged, one that's positively charged, because the net charge is still 0, right? And now their momentum, they've got to be moving in opposite directions, right? Because this guy has positive momentum, this guy has negative momentum. They're moving away from each other, so that cancels out. It has 0 momentum. So you can get something from nothing. And by the way, this pair production where you see a photon go, oh gosh, I'm so unstable, I'm just going to go and turn energy into matter, right? That's something that is actually observed in labs, right?
Yeah,
like,
you can see that happen.
You can see this happen. You can measure it, right? We know this happens.
This is one of those facts of science.
This is one of those. It's one of those observational things, right? And so, like, I don't understand, why is it so out of left field to think that that an extreme version of that happened, which is fundamentally what the Big Bang is.
Yeah.
Very simplified, boiled down, but like, anyway.
All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping up. So first, I'm going to say, I know Maddie talked about the Power Rangers game. Normally, there would be an episode tomorrow. I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen, because I haven't heard from a fair few of the players, and I know at least one of them is a no, so we're not sure. Look, it's been a weird few weeks for a lot of the people in the game, so that's going to be a little bit touch and go. I'm hoping I hear from more players tomorrow with either yeses or nos, so we can figure out what we're going to do from there. But Maddie, do you have anything scheduled to come up?
I already shilled. I'm good.
Good point. All right. So let's see. So Wednesday is a little bit up in the air. The 17th, I'm going to be releasing or premiering or whatever you call it. Jesus versus Zeus. Start of my 4-part series about Robert Carter, who was a young Earth creationist who has a whole bunch of silly ideas. In this case, I'm referencing his idea that it's silly to presume that Zeus might affect your experiments. But apparently it's not silly to assume that Jesus might do the same. Yeah. So, I don't know what to tell you there. On Saturday the 19th, I don't know what's happening, but it's going to be something. So, something's going to happen. On the 22nd, there should be a Jackson with Jackson, assuming that Jackson is ready and good to go, which I have not confirmed with him, but that is currently the plan. The 24th should be the next episode of the Robert Carter series. And then the 29th, the 26th, who knows, but the 29th should be Kent with Bent, being the 5th Tuesday of the month, which defaults to Kent with Bent. Because even though it might seem like it's not always the case, Kent with Bent is in fact the default Tuesday show. So, that's as far ahead as we're going to look, guys. Like I said, if you're a new member, which I know a whole bunch of you are, please check out the community tab. Check out early access. Too Young to Feel This Old says, the kiddos say good night. Well, good night to the kiddos.
Good night, kiddos.
I'm happy that they're one, getting some sleep, very important, but also that they're, hanging out and having fun with us. I hope this has remained reasonably family friendly. All right, guys. If you're a channel member or patron, remember to connect your accounts to Discord, or your Discord to your account, depending on which way you're going. So that way you can gain access to the Discord server, where I'm about to go hang out and watch a movie. So, guys, thank you, and I will see you hopefully at least on Thursday.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Venthoven, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Maddie Babby, McSpooks, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bead, and Atheist Animal. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting, so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is. and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if the annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.